My story begins long before I understood the world around me. In 1997, my parents left everything familiar behind in Nazas, Durango, Mexico. They crossed borders emotionally and physically, hoping the United States would offer their future children what their own childhoods could not. They ended up in Los Baños, California. When I was born, our family was still searching for stability. For the first 3 months of my life, we lived in my uncle's garage, my dad's oldest brother, who opened his home and honestly his heart to my parents when they had nowhere else to go. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. It was family, and it was the beginning of a life my parents were determined to build. After those first few months, my parents made another enormous decision. We packed what little we had and moved to Denver, Colorado to be closer to my mom's family. It was there, surrounded by my siblings, cousins, and a community learning to navigate a new country, that the foundation of my identity as a first generation student began. Growing up as the oldest of three was both a privilege and a pressure. I lived between two worlds every single day. The world inside our home, shaped by migration, sacrifice, limited English, and cultural pride. And the world inside my school, shaped by expectations, assumptions, and systems my family didn't yet understand. By 9 years old, I was translating parent-teacher conferences. I remember sitting there, little feet swinging off the chair, trying to interpret statements like, "She needs more academic support at home." I translated the words, but I felt the sting behind them. My parents weren't failing. They were simply navigating an unfamiliar system while working long hours to keep us afloat. My uncle, who was only 7 years older than me, was the first in our family to attempt college in the U.S. I watched him stay up late filling out FAFSA forms, stressing over financial aid, and writing essays in a language none of us fully mastered yet. He once told me, "We're figuring this out alone, so you and your siblings won't have to." Those words never left me. They taught me that educational access isn't just personal, it's generational. My story, though personal, is also part of something much larger. Movements like the Chicano Civil Rights Movement and the ongoing fight for bilingual education were built on the belief that students who look like me, speak like me, or come from families like mine deserve access, opportunity, and dignity in education. These movements challenged systems that punished Spanish-speaking students, pushed them into remedial tracks, or ignored the cultural wealth they brought into classrooms. And despite decades of activism, many of those inequities still persist today. Two scholars helped me understand my own experiences through a deeper lens. Tara Yoso's work on community cultural wealth reframed everything for me. It showed me that my family story, our bilingualism, our work ethic, our resilience, our ties to community were not deficits. They were forms of cultural capital that schools often overlook. And Angela Valenzuela's concept of subtractive schooling helped me name something I felt growing up, but never had language for. Schools sometimes expect immigrant students to leave parts of their identity behind, to cut away their home language, their customs, their stories, in order to fit it into the mold of success. Both scholars allowed me to see that the challenges I faced weren't isolated. They were part of broader systemic patterns affecting millions of first-generation students. And this is why the issue of educational equity matters so deeply to me. It's not theory. It's not abstract. It is connected to every classroom I walk into today. Because now I am a high school biology teacher in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Rio Grande High School, a school filled with first-generation students, multilingual learners, and families who carry stories that feel like reflections of my own. Every day I see students translating for their parents, students navigating school systems on behalf of their families, students carrying cultural responsibilities that many teachers don't recognize, students whose brilliance isn't always reflected in test scores, and every day I see their potential. Educational equity matters because a student's opportunities should never be determined by where their family comes from, whether that's Nazas Durango or the South Valley of Albuquerque. What should define their future is their potential, and their culture should be celebrated, not erased. My students are resourceful, multilingual, and full of brilliance that deserves to be nurtured, not overlooked. My parents' journey from Nazas Durango to Los Baños to Denver, and eventually my journey to New Mexico, shaped the educator I am today. Their sacrifices, their determination, and the support of my family are the reasons I stand in a classroom at Rio Grande High School. I became a teacher because I lived the inequities that still affect first-generation students. And now I fight every day to make sure my students don't have to navigate those systems alone. This is my story, this is my truth, and that is why I fight for educational equity.